I like writing poems, especially poems that inspire. I like to tell stories about Grenada, stories about places that I've been. I like to relate those stories. And I like taking pictures, especially when I visit places and pictures that appeal to me. I'll take those pictures and share them with friends. And when I go to Grenada, thank God I meet a lot of friends that I've known from school days and growing up days, childhood days, and they have always been so nice to me. We'll go around the island and we'll take pictures. I'll take the pictures and I'll post the pictures on social media. And I often hear people say, I saw a church I used to attend, and it made me feel good. It made me feel good when they tell me that because I was able to awaken some sort of nostalgia in them, bring them back to their childhood days, things that lay dormant in their mind, and a picture will awaken memories. Recently, I saw a picture of Cyril Street. Well, Cyril Street is now called Howard Blaze Street. And when I saw that picture, something immediately came to my mind. Immediately. Because years ago, I attended the St. George's Catholic Boys School, situated on Canash Hill. And there were times I took the Coronage Road to the school, and there were other times I just walked along Tyrrell Street. But when I saw the picture, you know what I remember? I remember the times walking along that street after having lunch, because in those days you left the school at 12, you go home, you have lunch, and you go back to school. But sometimes on the return to school, what do you think I'll meet? What we call the bull cow. The people used to walk those animals sometimes from Tantine and from Belmont area Spring all the way to the slaughterhouse in Melville Street. And as a child, man, I was afraid of the bull cow. Well, every cow was a bull cow. Female, male, everything is a bull cow. So it was races from the time I walked down the steps of Cooper Hill onto the street. And I looked, and if I spotted a man coming along with a bull cow, man, it was races past the area where Mr. Sion had a corn mill. You see the crooning song of the corn mill, which was actually on Green Street, past all that area. I didn't want that bull cow catch me at all. But continuing with stories, yes, I like to write stories because I bring back a lot of memories to people, and they feel good when I do so. And I'm always happy when they tell me that. It gives me more encouragement to write more and to talk more. And I highlight people who do not usually get attention, because we seem to gravitate towards the rich and the famous and the well-to-do, and the person we call ordinary. And I don't believe anybody is ordinary, because God made us all, so that none of us is ordinary. So when I see people on the street that people look down on, I see worth in them, and I write about them. And you might ask, why do I write about them? Yes, because I think they are important to society. So now I'll tell you a little story here. And the picture there, you see, credit my good friend Osman Griffith for that picture. Nice picture of the Carnage area. But now to the story. I'll talk about a man called MAFU. MAFU. I'm sure people like Depo and Ulrich remember MAFU very, very well. Now, there are people in Grenada you will readily associate with a town or a village. It was as though those people became synonymous with the places over a period of time. So consequently, if you mention Chessman, Casaman, or Patat, one name like that, Patat, you quickly jump to go over the parish of St. John. You call the name Comsi, and you awaken the interest of people from Sotez. I call Comsi the mayor of Sotez. When you speak about Jose, Leon, Gruby, and Mafu, you land right on the Carnage, St. George's. And of course, when you speak of the Lacrettes, you end up in the road. But it is about Mafu I'm writing about and talking about today. Mafu, rest in peace because he passed away. Well, he was a jovial individual and he had a big smile. Now, if you can imagine a person as broke as a church mouse or a cockroach, and yet that person can give you a broad smile, you get a picture. You know, we are something else, you know. We could be broke. We know where the next meal coming from, but we'll smile and say, what going on there, boy? When you think of the Depression in America, 1929, times like that, and people lost their money. Yes, they lost their money. And they killed themselves. But many of our people will go to Ivan, Janet, and still will smile and ask, boy, how you doing? We are something else, yes. So, it is about Mafu. Now, he had a broad smile, jovial character. Well, of course, if we give him a few of Uncle Sam's greenbacks, well, you know what's a greenback? Pass some bread. If you make a 8th rum for him by Marshall's Rum Shop, well, that smile used to grow bigger and bigger. But it made you feel happy. Now, whenever I visited Grenada, I always look for Mafu. You know, the simple people, man, they make you happy. You know why? Because they're genuine, many of them are. I always look for Mafu when I visit Grenada. But when I saw us, Mafu, I saw a symbol of my days spent in the vicinity of the Carnage. And the Carnage, of course, is also called the Wharf. I used to spot him years ago when I was a teenager, walking up the steps of Cooper Hill where I lived for years. I never asked Mapu where he was going, but I was always quick to hail him, to call him out. And I used to call him, I used to say, Fube! But I invented that name. And he seemed to like it. He was never offended. So I'll shout, Fube! And he used to answer, yeah, my boy, what going on there, my boy, what going on there? And Mafu made up words like pepcock and fade gyps, words that I never understood. And I never questioned the words or asked for their meanings. But the way Mafu said those words, well, it made me laugh. Or bust out a big laugh. Now, I met him on the wharf a few years ago, close to the house where the famed Courtney Ruby used to reside, and I decided to get a story from MAFU. A friend of mine called Ork was standing nearby. So I approached MAFU and made a request. MAFU, tell me the story of Daddy Ojas and the Laja Bless. Well, the story of the Laja Bless is rooted in Grenada and indeed Caribbean folklore. Well, the Laja Bless, sort of a devil woman, changed her form at night and was noted for luring men to the death. You see, we in the Caribbean, we read Greek mythology about Methuselah the Gorgon, and we read about Atlas, and we read about Hercules and so on, and we never consider that to be nonsense. But somehow, many always look at our folklore as nonsense. So you won't hear much stories about Julian Fedon, White Horse, or you never hear too much talk about the funeral man who turned into a cake, or the donkey with the gold teeth and go out, or the lady who came back from the grave. You wouldn't hear much stories about that, because to many people that's nonsense. But we read Greek mythology. So Daddy Ojas, coming back to him, met this pretty woman, pretty woman. And she attracted him, and with her enticing words, her sweet talk. You know, the Laja Bless would do that, and then you might end up over a precipice. So the Laja Bless was said to have one human foot and one cow foot. Boy, I tell you something. We have a lot of stories that we was put in the books for our children and grandchildren to read after Papa God calls us home. Daddy just met the Laja Bless, and he was charmed by her sweet talk and her beautiful looks. Can't blame him. All of us like pretty women. He proceeded to walk with her in the dark, enjoying the encouraging talk. But then Daddy Ojas got the shock of his life when he lit a cigarette. It was when he lit the cigarette he saw the cow foot. Boy, it was breakneck speed. Daddy Ojas took off like a jet plane. The Laja Bless shouted, "You're lucky I would have break your blasted neck." It was rumored, now do not quote me, but it was rumored that Daddy Ojas broke a wind that broke two of Miss Senti's windows. Some people say the wind killed a chicken. So MAFU was under his oil. Well, we have words for under oil, for being drunk, intoxicated, high, like, you know. He was under his oil when I met him. So I had to be contented with any abbreviated or mix-up reply when I asked the question, tell me the story of Daddy Ojas and the Laja Bless. So his response, boy, the Laja Bless, oh God, boy, Daddy Ojas run like a bitch, boy. Son of a gun, he took off like a madman when he saw the cow foot. And then MAFU let go two bad words, which I would repeat here. So that was his story. And of course, I had a good laugh. Then I saw MAFU again, and he told me about the mullet. You know, the mullet is a fish. And he used to catch the mullet in the Syrian Nutmeg Bar and Restaurant. Now, Nutmeg Bar and Restaurant, boy, I tell you something. They used to make a good chicken snack. Ask anybody who could go back to the 70s. You will agree with the Bajan guy who said made a statement. The statement he made, he said, if you never ate nutmeg chicken, ma, you never ate yet. So yes, nutmeg made nice chicken snack, boy. Nice, nice, nice. So when I saw MAFU, we spoke a bit about the Nutmeg Bar and restaurant. So he told me about that restaurant. He stressed that the mullets were huge, big mullets he caught. You could see the water there, the sea right there. Big mullets he caught because, you know, the mullet ate expensive restaurant food. The mullet were not eating blogo and fig, while some of us had to eat blogo, fig, dashin, and green fig. The mullet were eating restaurant food. That's why those mullets were so huge. Well, I was happy that MAFU found the time to fish, and it was ample proof that he was not a lazy man. I have to give him that. I knew that because I vividly recall the many occasions he carried my mother, Georgiana de Riggs, grocery for her. While we were playing cricket in Tantine, football and cricket in Tantine pasture, even pitching marbles in the yard. So it is safe to say that MAFU was the carnage. This was Matu and Conqueror and them guys. You could say they were St. John Street. MAFU was a fixture, and he participated in the big mass bands. Well, in those days, it was big mass bands, wire bending, the guys with all the different costumes and so on. A spectacle to see the bands come down Market Hill. Today, what we have, panty and bra. What we have, jab too. He pounded the steel, MAFU did. He pounded the steel while the people frolicked in the carnival bands. MAFU was around when Big Bear, you remember Big Bear? Big Bear gave fortunate individuals what was called passes to see the midnight shows at the Empire Cinema. MAFU saw people fall into the sea to grab the ham at the end of the greasy pole during Uncle Gary's Easter Water Parade celebration. Who remembers Easter Water Parade? He was there when Gary brought the sand from Grandad's beach and transformed the Carnage into a beach. Yes, the Carnage became a beach with the white sand. And MAFU observed the well-educated politician. He's still alive, but I wouldn't call his name. One night he comically sang a song, Sweetie Come Kiss Me, or something like that, in what was called Talent of Road competition on the Carnage. It was held on the Carnage. And of course, his rendition caused loud laughter. Now MAFU was there when two huge fishes came into the harbor. Boy, it was a great spectacle as fishermen in their small boats tried to harpoon them when they surfaced from time to time. It was believed that the huge fishes came into the harbor and could not find their way out. People said it was a husband and wife fish. I still trying to figure that out. How they knew it was a husband and wife. I don't know. We don't say some kind of thing, eh? Now, there much to be said about MAFU. The last time I saw him alive was during the World Cup cricket competition we had in Grenada, the World Cup cricket match. He's gone. But I still see MAFU in my mind, and I'll write about MAFU and people that grew up in Grenada that I got to know. I'll write about them. It's gone, but I still, in my mind's eye, the picture is clear. I still see him sitting on the Carnage, You know, God gave us this great faculty called memory. Memory is indeed a wonder. And most of all, I can still hear his words. What going on there, my boy? I guess when he passed away, St. Peter saw him and asked him, MAFU, what going on there, my boy? And his answer was probably, a day, a day. Anthony Wendell the Riggs, yeah, just keeping our culture alive. In a way I do it, you know. Some people do it in other ways, but I like to bring it in poetry, in pictures, inspirational pieces, yeah, storytelling, which I like very much. God bless you. God bless you.